Hey, we're live.
Hey guys, we're about to start this thing. Here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's time for the Fantasy Football Guys. Like a hot night in Tijuana, they're the donkey show of fantasy football. Here they are, Lyle Conkeal and Kevin Moore, the Fantasy Football Guys.
Yep, that's right. It's the Fantasy Football Guys show. Lyle? I was wondering what you would do when I did that. But you jumped right in.
I did.
Almost like this isn't your first rodeo.
It's not.
All right, so we're the Fantasy Football
few.
Guys. It is opening day month. Not quite opening day week.
Not yet. That's next week.
But it is opening day month.
It is opening day month.
As it is September 1st as we record this here show. And it's actually live right now.
On Twizzitch.
But probably when you see it later, it's not going to be live.
Yeah.
So it's a
Or-
weird
or
week.
hear it.
Usually you have 4 preseason games, right?
Right.
And then you have like a week, and then the real game starts.
I had assumed that the season would just move in.
like
would
a
just-
week early.
Right. It just started a week early.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
No.
They put a week on the end.
They added a week of games. We have 17
Yeah.
games now, so 8 and 8's not going to be a thing. You
It's
either have a
not.
winning season or a losing season. There's
well,
no
you
even.
can have a tie, too. So you could be 8-8
That's
and
true.
1.
That's true.
And that would be considered 500, I guess. You would be slightly below 500, I guess, technically speaking.
No,
right? Your
actually.
winning percentage. I don't know. I have to do math.
And I'll tell you what, if there is a team that will accomplish that feat, it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
They'll figure it out.
Or the Browns, or
Right.
the Bengals. One of those
Bengals,
3 teams will be
Browns.
involved in that.
Yeah. The
Nearly
Lions can't win that many games. Although, if they could, they totally would do it.
It's true. I'm not sure the Eagles can either.
I don't think so either.
Or the Bengals, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know. Joe Burrow's got some game. They got some talent on
They
that
do.
team.
They absolutely do. Not along the offensive line.
No.
Right. And see, so that's why I'm thinking they're not going
They
to get
have
to 8
really
games.
good receivers. Burrow, we know from last season, is pretty good.
Good
If he
running back.
continues yeah, well, when he's healthy, Mixon's amazing.
Yeah.
So they have some pieces. Not all of them, but they have a few. I think they could win 8 games. Now, will they win 8? I'm not going to bet money that they'll win 8 games, or 9, or tie.
We're 6.
Right, but
Well, there's a tough division. You got the Ravens there twice.
Sure.
You got the Browns, who are now a thing twice.
Twice.
And the Steelers, who have never not been a thing, really.
yeah, but they're not the thing that they used to be.
No, they're not. But they tend to, their valleys aren't as steep as some teams.
They're
And
not.
And they don't last as long as some teams. They won the division last year,
Yes,
dude.
they did.
So,
Somehow. Morning, Buzz.
somehow, some
No,
way.
It's not really morning, but okay.
So, catch up on our leagues if you're in one of those. The TFFG Free League, Kevin, is full.
Yet nobody has really replied to me yet.
I chased them, dude. I have to chase them.
Yeah, I'm gonna
You
have
don't
to
have
chase
time
these
to
guys
chase
down.
them this week.
I haven't, yeah.
So I'm sending messages, and so the money league is full, draft scheduled, all that kind of stuff, everything done. G League waiting on football chick to come in, and you, and that's pretty much it.
Me, yeah, I'll be in. No, don't worry about that.
Well, I was thinking I have a username and password. I might just put you in
You could do that too.
because I want to set the draft and realign everything.
Yeah.
And
I just haven't had time. Sorry. Been
Yeah, I
moving
know.
my grandfather into his
How's
new
that
house.
going?
It's awful. Have you ever helped somebody move?
Oh yeah.
Now imagine if they were 85.
Oh yeah.
So basically, you're the one that's moving everything.
Sure.
Because he's 85.
But they're telling you how to do it.
Oh yeah, this has got to. At first, he's like, I don't care, just put everything in the living room. I'm like, cool. So I start, pulling stuff out of this U-Haul. By the way, a quick side note, little tour.
A little bit of a tangent.
So we get this place. We go to the place and we buy it. Right? We go down there, we sign all the papers and all that stuff. Go over to the new house. It's 2 houses down from me. So there's my grandfather, 2 houses, and then my house. Right?
Yeah.
So we take the railing off the front porch so we can get the big stuff into the front door. And as we open the door, wasps everywhere. Everywhere.
They're living under the porch.
I guess. So my grandfather was like, they won't bother us. Sure. So I get stung 4 times,
Sure.
and I'm like, Papa, this is untenable. Like,
Untenable.
Yeah.
Look at the big brain on Lyle.
I know. Bro, I can't be walking through a horde of wasps every time, like literally, like every second. You have to go into the house and out of the house. You're moving.
And they're coming in with you, and they're pissed.
They really didn't come inside, but they stayed around the door. And I'm talking about from head to toe, there's, I don't know, 30 wasps flying around.
Sure.
So we had to stop and go kill them and all. And I got stung 4 times, which was super awesome.
Did you get stung in the killing of them or in the moving back
No,
and
just
forth?
the moving. I got stung once on the ankle, twice on the back, and once on the finger. Yeah, it sucks. I don't know when the last time you got stung was, but it's like the one on my back still hurts right now. It's stinging right now.
I haven't been stung by a bee that big, probably for
wasp,
30 years. It was a hornet. I worked at as field labor at a nursery.
Yeah.
And in the morning you had to go and as they were going to pull the shrubs out of the ground to go put them in businesses.
Right.
You had to pull up the sides of the bush, and somebody would tie them up so you could fit more of them onto a flatbed.
And there was wasps.
There was hornets.
Yeah. Oh, they're
ground
nasty.
hornets
Yeah,
that were
those are nasty.
right. So I had like a bunch of them come up out of this bush and attack me, and one of them was going up my jeans pant leg.
Oof.
I crushed it about mid thigh
Oof.
because I didn't want it to get any higher.
Yeah.
I got stung 7 or 8 times on that.
Yeah, it's no good. So anyway, we had to go to Home Depot and buy some stuff to
Buy a
kill them
wasp
all.
bomb, yeah.
And we had to stand there and spray them. We couldn't find the nest, so we were just basically trying to. Anyway,
Spraying them out of the air, ninja style.
so then I'm starting to load the stuff in. My grandfather was, well, yeah, put that one in the back room. Put that one in.
So it was just
this one-
you?
Yeah, it was just me.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. Yep. Just me.
How did he get it into the truck?
He had some people help him down there.
Crazy.
You know, he had another trailer. He has a trailer that he owns that he brought up and left.
I know
here.
this is engrossing
Yeah.
fantasy football talk, but
It's all right. But and then he rented a U-Haul that he brought. You know, so there's gonna be more, and it's awful. But that's what I've been doing for the past 3-4 days.
and you couldn't take time like 3 minutes out to
I could
sign
have.
up
I
for a
just
fantasy
was
football league?
exhausted and would forget about it and fall asleep. And you know,
I
I'll
got
do
you.
it.
Yeah, I know.
I'll do it. Anyway, football.
So this is a weird week because there's like a whole weekend.
There's a gap.
Yeah, like usually we'd have games this weekend or
Sure.
like later in the week.
Sure.
But we have that. We have none of that. So it's kind of like the week that wasn't.
Indeed.
But thankfully we have a bunch of news, and that's basically what this show is going to be. It's too late for us to talk about mock drafting and stuff like that. Chances are you've already drafted. We have the TFFG leagues to draft, but really our primary stuff is done.
Yeah.
So I think next year, instead of examining the
I like going through the
divisions,
teams, though.
it might not be so bad.
I like going through
Maybe do it quicker. But like last year, we had like 3 draft shows. We talked about strategy and
Yeah.
talked about draft. So we try to mix it up. Anyway, so this week we're just going to, as Lyle called it, BS about football.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about the news. We'll talk a little bit about the main money draft that we had, which is a redraft half PPR. That'll be a little bit relevant. A lot of fantasy experts in that one. At least one of them.
And then Lyle and I too. So yeah,
I'll tell you all about Kevin's fork debacle. It's a thing.
Yeah, I did my best. That's all I ever do is my best. All right, so obviously the big news of cut down day was Cam Newton getting cut loose from the Patriots. And you know, when you think about it, if Belichick's idea was I'm going to start Mac Jones, he earned the job.
Yeah.
And if you have the opportunity, if it's basically even between the star player, the grizzled veteran, and the young rookie, you go with the rookie because you get 5 years of starting quarterback play, hopefully good, at a rookie contract.
Right.
Which means you can do all kinds of crazy things with the cap and bringing in free agents and stuff like that.
The thing is, this should not come as a huge shock. Cam
hasn't been good for 2 years.
Yeah. Listen, he's outstanding at the goal line.
Sure.
Yeah, he's amazing, right?
He's a running back at the goal line.
Essentially.
Yeah.
He's a giant running back. But, yeah, he hasn't been a good passer in a long time in this league. And there was a significant drop-off when he didn't have an all-pro wide receiver caliber running back to throw footballs to in New England, right? I mean, he just did not have the best season last year, you know. So I'm not super surprised. Mac Jones has got some game. I mean, obviously Belichick knows what he's doing with quarterbacks. Last one he had was pretty good. So
Yeah.
I'm not super surprised by this.
A lot of people are asking, well, you just couldn't keep him, on the team as a backup. And Lyle and I were talking about this before. It's like Cam Newton's one of those charismatic, larger-than-life dudes. And if he's in the locker room, that locker room belongs to him. And it's hard. It would be hard for a guy in Mac Jones' position to kind of take the leadership role of a team that had Cam Newton in it.
Right.
Especially in the locker, presumably next to him.
Right.
So if you're going to go with Mac Jones, you really kind of have to cut Cam loose.
So where do you think he goes? Word is Cowboys or the Texans?
Well, I would say the Texans, he could actually probably walk in and compete for the starting job.
No.
Not right away.
So here's the thing. If Deshaun Watson is eligible to play football and will play football, Cam Newton doesn't have a shot.
If Deshaun Watson will play football in a Texans uniform, which he said he never will do again.
Right. Well, people say a lot of things.
Well, and people do a lot of things as well.
They do.
Whether or not he'll actually stick with that.
Yeah.
He showed up to camp, which nobody thought he would do, which is kind of weird. So, obviously, yes, if Deshaun Watson is playing, Cam's not going to see the field. Same thing with the Cowboys, honestly. That's Dak's team. So if I think that if he goes to any team as a backup, it's going to be trouble for the same thing I mentioned about New England. So I don't know about trouble, and I think Cam's a smart enough guy and a decent enough human being that he's not going to try to take over the room.
Yep, I agree.
So
I agree. But I don't think it would be great for the Cowboys. I don't.
No, it wouldn't.
I think that, Dak's clearly the leader on that team. And it's not like Dak needs mentoring from a guy like Cam. I'm not saying that, he could never learn anything.
Sure.
Of course he could. But Dak Prescott's pretty damn good.
He's been in the league long enough that he's that guy who's doing the teaching of the younger guy.
He's got a veteran presence.
He's 26, right? Something like that,
yeah,
28?
Yeah, he's been there. Hadn't won a whole lot of playoff games. But
well, it's the home count. It's the star, but he gets how it goes. Yeah.
We're so stupid. Anyway, interesting news, but I don't.
If you watch Letterkenny, you kind of know what that is.
Yeah.
Greatest party ever.
Yeah. I'm just not super shocked by it.
And it doesn't. I'm not going to say I'm shocked by it. Not so much, but I thought it would go a different way.
And I lucked out hardcore because I drafted late in my in our main money league. I drafted Will Fuller, so I put him on IR. He's suspended.
Sure.
For at least one game, right? It's probably going to be more.
4, I think.
I think it's at least one. I can't remember the whole details, but
it
it doesn't matter. I knew he was suspended. I drafted him and put him on the pine. And so I put him in an IR slot, and I was looking around for somebody to pick up, and there really weren't any running backs or receivers that had huge upside. So I said, I'll pick up Mac Jones, see what happens there in New England. Mm-hmm. I did that the day before Cam got cut. So that really lucked out for me. We'll see. Mac Jones might be terrible, so it might not matter at all.
It may not matter at all.
But that is a keeper league.
So the big thing now is a bunch of players have been cut. So you say, this dude made the 53. Not so fast. There's a lot of good players out there. So your last guy on your 53 may not be as good as the guy who got cut from the other team's 53. So there's some wheeling and dealing, guys getting picked up. Eagles didn't pick up anybody off of waivers. A lot of other teams did.
They did cut Travis Fulgham, though, and kept J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
They did. But Fulgham has been signed to the practice squad, as is Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird for a guy in Jordan Howard's position who's 26.
It's just no interest,
Maybe.
I mean,
Well,
Fulgham, in my opinion, is a far better wide receiver than J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is. So I just don't understand this. But it's a Howie Roseman thing, and we're complaining about the Eagles again. So our bad.
Which we do. So, I'm just sitting at NFL.com and looking to see, who's been picked up in practice squads. Peyton Barber, Antonio Gandy Golden for the football team are picked up on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
Yeah.
Ski 8787. Thanks for the sub, bro.
Appreciate that, man. Person. I don't know. Say man.
Yeah, it's Ski, so it's a gender non-specific name.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Equanimous St. Brown practice squad for the Packers. And a lot of these guys are going to be picked up. I saw that Amir Abdullah is on the practice squad for the Vikings, and he's must be 28 years old. So just being able to continue to pick up a paycheck from an NFL team is a good deal.
Yeah, and you hope to play yourself back onto the field. You know, the injuries happen, all that kind of stuff. You get called right back up.
Well, plus you're on the practice squad. You can be signed to another team's 53, just like that.
Yep.
And I almost expect that to happen with Howard. First couple weeks of the season, might even be the Eagles.
Might be.
Whose practice squad that he is on. So that's the kind of thing you want to look at this time of year. And really, fantasy football-wise, it's time to get your starters are locked in.
Yes.
You know, the guys you picked up in the first 8 rounds, 7-8 rounds, are probably going to be your starters until they get hurt or prove themselves not worthy. It's time to get those back-end guys.
Yeah. And I mean, and the thing is, listen, it's not opening day week yet. It's opening day month.
Right.
But you will hear us say this for the first about 3 weeks of the season.
Don't
get
cute.
Don't. Start the people you drafted early. Okay, you drafted them there for a reason. I understand that Josh Allen is playing Pittsburgh week 1. Not a great matchup historically, right? You play him.
And you never not play him unless
Pretty
he's on
much.
a bye.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, so everybody from double-digit rounds on back, you know, the Justice Hills of the world, the Carlos Hydes. Can you improve your squad just like these NFL teams are trying to improve theirs by seeing who's available?
Right.
So we did our main money league draft on Sunday night, and we do it at a local restaurant. It's, 5 minutes from my house, a couple minutes from Lyle's house, right? Some people come from as far away as Philly, and when Lennox was in this league, he came from like Connecticut or something,
yes, he
right?
did, yeah.
So, I mean, we have people who travel for this, at least from Philadelphia. So I had ordered some boneless wings / chicken nuggets, and they're the wet kind. You know, they're sopping with sauce, and I got ranch to dip them in. So I asked the young lady, the waitron, the server, can I get some napkins and a fork, please? She said, sure. I'm like, thank you. She goes off and goes about her business, comes back in, brings the napkins. And I said, oh, can I get that fork, please? She's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, sure. And then she goes away. And then she comes back and does something with other people and doesn't bring me the fork. And then she goes away, and then she comes back. By this time, my food's getting cold. But, I'm not going to put my fingers all in it. I'm busy doing stuff with paper and stuff like that. I don't want dirty hands. So as she's walking away, I'm like, any time for that fork, please. And she just keeps going. So I got up and I got the damn fork for myself. I saw where the waitress station was.
And we teased Kevin relentlessly about this.
So anytime anybody got anything for the rest of the night, they asked for a fork to go with it.
I got like nachos essentially and bone-in wings. And I still asked for a fork. And you know what I got right away?
She got the fork. He got the fork right away.
Right away.
And Lyle's like, see what you get when you're nice? I'm like, I was nice the first 2 times I asked. After that, I was a little salty. By the time I ended up getting my own fork, the nuggets were cold.
Oh, that's so bad. But seriously, who eats essentially chicken fingers?
Well, if they were not wet.
But what do you do with regular wings? They're wet.
Yeah, but I'm not going to eat them while I'm messing with paper and stuff on a draft. I wanted clean hands, so I got a fork.
You got napkins. You just wipe your hands off.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that.
I know, because you had to get a fork.
I had wet wings. I was dipping it into ranch.
It was your fault that your wings were cold. Just eat them.
I should have just gotten up to get the damn fork myself, is what I should have done.
Well, you did.
Yeah, eventually. 10 minutes later. But anyway, so now my team name is the Fork and A's. So there's a couple of really good teams here. Looking at Lyle's team, Lyle drafted at the end. So he started out with Antonio Gibson.
I got the 12 spot.
He was in the 12 spot.
Yeah.
He was got Antonio Gibson, came right back with Saquon Barkley,
which
is great value there.
It is, but here's the thing. It's definitely a risk. But I couldn't pass on it.
Well,
if I whiff, right? If he ends up, still being hurt or hampered, or he's not the same player, what am I going to do?
Well, I saw that they let Corey Clement go, so chances of him starting week 1 are pretty good.
Well, I'm just saying, if he's the player he was before he got hurt, right? I essentially got a number 1 pick at the 12 spot, right?
Well, a top 3 pick at the 12.
In a half PPR, he could be picked number 1.
He could be. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
So I'm all over that. I have to do it. Gibson is a guy that I've been talking about all offseason. I'm super high on him. I think he's going to be incredibly solid. I actually think the football team's going to be really good. Their defense is
one of the best in the league.
For real.
Yeah.
So I think, and that bodes well. Scores will be down. They'll run the football more. He proved last year that he could do some damage on the ground. I'm very high on Gibson this year.
There you go. So coming back in the 3rd round and 4th round, Lyle picked up Amari Cooper and Chris Godwin.
Right. 2 receivers back to back.
2 solid receivers.
Super solid. Here's the other thing. I had traded one of my players last year for an extra 4th rounder, so I took a stab.
Gus Edwards.
I took Gus Edwards.
This was the night after J.K. went down and had been declared out for the season.
Right. Now,
I don't know how much of a stab that is, but who knows what they're going to do at running back.
I mean, it's 4th round, and it's my 2nd and 4th round pick.
Yeah.
I drafted the 2 receivers. I would not have drafted him at that spot had it not been an extra pick.
Sure.
I would have waited. I would have had to, but I wouldn't have picked him in place of one of those receivers.
Exactly right. Coming back in the 5th round, you got Ronald Jones and then Chase Claypool. I wasn't sure about those. I think Claypool, I guess it all depends on how good Ben's going to be this year.
Yeah, I mean, dynamic rookie last year. Essentially, my flex is already set with Gus Edwards.
Sure.
But I wanted some upside there, And Ronald Jones, I think he's going to be a part of the offense. And we saw last year he went back and forth with Fournette. And
he makes me nervous because at the end of the season, he was basically a no-show.
For sure.
End of the season and into the playoffs, all the way to the big game, Super
But
Bowl.
Fournette does not have a history of being on the field all that often.
He didn't. He doesn't. But last year, I think he was there for whenever he was called on.
Yeah, he was.
So
and he was good when he was called on usually.
Yeah. Your keeper, Josh Allen, in the 7th, which is all world.
Great value.
And then a tight end in the 8th, which surprised me a little.
Yeah. Didn't like the value that was out there at running back and wide receiver. I already had my quarterback. So Logan Thomas is sitting there, who I have as a top 5 tight end.
You could have had Juju.
Nah, I don't like Juju.
You could have had Tyler Boyd.
Nah.
Could have taken a stab at Michael Thomas. Brandon Cooks was available.
Again, none of these. So listen,
none of these guys are very.
They all
exciting.
have question marks for me.
Juju,
right? Yeah, yeah.
Same question marks as Chase, and you don't really want to have Chase and Juju.
I mean, I could have taken him. I went for the upside.
I don't hate Logan Thomas there.
Yeah.
The next 2, you got J.D. McKissick and Will Fuller. At this point, you're starting to throw darts.
Yeah, just throwing darts. Well, it's a half PPR. McKissick was the most targeted running back in the NFL last season.
He was.
So. If
that offense does what we think it's going to do.
When I'm drafting McKissick there, I'm not drafting him to be my starter. I'm drafting him in case something goes wrong with my team or a bye week or
right.
He's not a guy that I'm.
He's going to be a flex at best for you.
For sure.
You hope.
I hope.
Because if you're playing him instead of Antonio Gibson, something's wrong with Antonio Gibson.
Right, and I didn't draft him because I drafted Antonio Gibson.
Sure. We don't believe in handcuffs here at the Fantasy Football Guys.
Right. We don't.
Speaking of throwing darts, next to you had Darrell Williams and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Now, the reason you picked Trevor Lawrence, and I know this about you, is so that if he does become all-world, then you get him next year for an 11th.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why.
And I don't mind that.
And Williams is just a stab at a potential running back on a really good offense.
Sure.
Right? It's just a total stab.
And speaking of stabs, Rashad Penny, who should be really good.
Never is.
Maybe.
Again, total stab, really good running offense.
Sure.
Running back.
And the way Seattle treats running backs is not unlike the way New England treats running backs.
Again, but those guys are people that I might drop at some point for a waiver wire pickup.
Sure. And then you have Jameis Winston. So at this point, you have 3 quarterbacks.
I do. But again, this is a super high upside pick. What round is that? 13?
That
12?
was 14.
14. So 14th round, I got Jameis Winston, a guy who threw for 4,500 yards and 30-some touchdowns last time he started in the NFL. Now, I know he also had 30 interceptions. I know. But I'm just saying, they have good receivers there, right? He
has fresh eyes.
He's got good eyes. It's a winning tradition there. They have one of the best receiving backs in the NFL. I don't know, man. Again, a guy I might drop.
Well, I don't think so. I think if he has a really good week one, he becomes trade fodder at that point.
At that point, he might be.
Let's see, Colts D. Okay.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, again, a total
in the 16th round, but
he's injured.
Could be okay when he gets
lit
back
up camp when he was healthy. So who knows, right? But a lot of people were saying really good things about him. Again, that's what 15th round.
Total 16.
16 total shot in the dark.
And then a kicker, which kind of surprised me a little because you don't usually take kickers.
I don't usually, but there really weren't that many people on the board at that point.
Well, usually in this league, we draft 17 rounds, and then everybody gets a free agent pickup, and that's where the defense is picked up. But because of the way this draft worked this year, we had a guy who traded away all of his first 7-round picks to really jack his team up, and he ended up winning the whole thing.
Last year.
So this dude didn't have a pick until round 8.
Yep.
So a lot of people had a lot of different picks. So because of that, we ended up going to 24 rounds. So everybody just picked the entire team of 18. So.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right, so I had pick 8.
Yeah, which is, by the way, one of the worst. In a redraft league, you don't want to be in the middle.
Middle sucks.
You really want to be at one of the ends.
But the thing is I did well enough in this league last year to not have my first pick of placement.
Yeah, so what we do is, depending on how you finish the previous year, you get to pick your draft spot. So the person who finishes last in the league gets the pick. They can pick any draft slot they want.
So basically the dude picking first finished last. As it should be.
Right.
So the best I could get to be at either end was 8th. I would have taken 4th.
Yeah.
It wasn't available. Anyway, so being 8th, I think I did all right.
Hit me.
First pick, Aaron Jones. It was really between Chubb and Aaron Jones.
I think both of them are home runs.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. They both, Jones has a Dillon problem, if that's a problem. Chubb has a problem there with Kareem Hunt.
But it's really not.
But it's not really a problem. Everybody's gonna work. So I took Aaron Jones, and then I came right back with Steph Diggs. So I think those were solid. Best running back on the board, and I really the first few rounds, I try to stick to my list as good as I can and as much as I can. So I really wanted to get Keenan Allen there, but he was not available.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders was the best player on the board when it came back to me.
Yeah.
And I actually had back-to-back shots there because of the guy who traded away his first 8 rounds. I had 2/3 and 2/5. So I took Allen Robinson in the 4th, which may have been 5 or 6 picks too early, but I didn't think he'd make it back around to me.
Same. I don't think he would have either.
Yeah, and I ended up, because, I was thinking of Amari Cooper there, but I like Robinson's situation a little bit better if Justin Fields gets on the field. Anyway, so I took Robinson, and then I came back around and I took Leonard Fournette. I wanted another running back, and I took Chase Edmonds. So my running back room basically is set. Chase might have been around too early, but I like his situation, and I knew he wouldn't be back around for me coming around in the 5th. So then in the 5th, I took Debo, and in the 6th, I took DJ Chark. And I like both of those. So I think I'm all right with running backs and receivers here. I got some guys with good upside. I have a couple of studs, and I'm happy. So coming into the 7th, this is really too early for quarterback for me, but there was really nobody around me. This was a round where somebody took Hawkinson. Devontae Smith is actually off the board. I wanted him. Tanyan went off the board. Yep. We're in the Mike Williams, Laviska Shenault area. And I said, Dak's still sitting there. With his receivers, if he can stay healthy, he'll be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. No questions asked.
For sure.
So why not there? He'll score 400 points this year if he stays healthy. So sure, I'll jump in there, and I did that. And then I started throwing darts where in the same situation that Lyle was. Guys with high upside, they have question marks or they'd be higher. So I grabbed Tyler Boyd out of Cincy. He's always steady. He's always at least flex worthy. No matter who the quarterback is, Tyler Boyd's going to get open. He's going to get points. He's not going to get a 20-point game, but he's going to be
20 burger.
Not a 20 burger. He's going to be steady at 10 or 11 points. I threw a dart and took a chance on Malcolm Brown, and I haven't actually looked to see how he shook out. I'll have to do that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I thought he could actually have a pretty decent role in that offense. So
It's possible.
if you could check Miami and see where if there's a depth chart available where he ends up on that. George Kittle was my keeper in the 10th, which I'll take I get to keep him for one more year. He'll cost me a 9th next year, and then after that he goes back into the pool. And then the darts, Darnell Mooney, Kenny Gainwell for the Eagles, Mecole Hardman. Nice to be part of that Chiefs offense.
Malcolm Brown is number 2.
Okay.
Behind Gaskin.
I'll take that for a 9th round pick. You know, Gaskin got hurt a few games last year. Malcolm Brown, late of the Rams, now is with the Dolphins. Could actually get some work there. Took Carson Wentz in the 14th. This was the pre-COVID announcement. Boy, that dude was taking some harsh love, man. Mm-hmm. As a backup, and then I took the Dolphins D and Justin Tucker. So I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I think there's some question marks on that team, just like there's question marks on everybody's team. But I think the starting core is pretty solid. Robbie, who's going to launch his podcast, I think, sometime later this week, talking about DFS under our banner. So if you subscribe to us, you'll get him, whether you like it or not. So Robbie ended up with the 3rd pick. So he had 2 first-round picks. So he took Derrick Henry with the 3rd pick overall. Then he took Nick Chubb with the 8th pick. He had.
I thought you had the 8th pick.
No, Brian, who traded his draft away. His first pick he traded to Robbie.
I know, but you said you picked at 8.
I picked at 8 in the 3rd round.
Oh, so where did you pick in the first?
8. I'm sorry, my bad. He took Brian's. I think Brian was at 10.
Okay, all right, that makes more sense.
9. He was at 9 actually.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, in the 9th pick, he took Nick Chubb. So he's got Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb.
That's pretty solid.
Comes back around and grabs David Montgomery.
Yeah.
And then comes back around in the 3rd and grabs Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
So dude's got Henry, Chubb, Montgomery, and Mostert. And he's 3 rounds in.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a receiver yet. Adam Thielen's sitting there for him in the 4th.
Solid pick.
Deontay Johnson's sitting there for him in the 5th.
Solid pick.
Grabs Justin Herbert in the 6th. Might have been a little early, but
I don't know.
he's got himself a playmaker there, and he's got running backs. Like we can't say he didn't get his running backs right. And then Curtis Samuel, who's solid, in the 7th, and he got Corey Davis from the Jets. I was wondering about that one a little bit. I have a hard time picking a Jet.
As do I.
DK Metcalf is the dude's keeper at 9.
Yeah.
So his receivers are Thielen and Metcalf.
Yeah, he didn't need the receivers. That's why he went the way he went.
All he had to do was get somebody who's okay.
Right.
And that could be Thielen, that could be Johnson. He didn't have to worry about a flex play.
Right, because he's got
with a receiver because he's got running backs to plug in there.
Which is what you want to do in that league.
Exactly. And then he took a tight end at 10, Ferkser from Tennessee. And then he's got Pollard, Carlos Hyde. And Pollard could actually be something. We saw what he could do last year.
It depends on Zeke.
It all depends on Zeke. Took the Ravens defense in the 13th a little early, but they're the number 1 defense, so what the hell. Then he got the beard, took Cam Akers for next year's keeper, if Cam comes back strong. Also has Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
He got Odell Beckham in the 6th round from a trade. So, yeah, dude, I think he's looking real good, especially at running back. A couple guys who always quietly have good drafts. Jack, dude, he took Dalvin Cook in the 1st, Darren Waller in the 2nd for some reason. But then he got McLaurin, he got Kareem Hunt, he's got Russ Wilson, A.J. Dillon, Jamar Chase. Yeah. He's got Connor in Arizona who could actually really contribute there. He's got Madison, good handcuff for Cook if you do that sort of thing. So I'm looking at his, I play him week 1, and I'm looking at his squad going, I don't really believe in their projections, but he's projected to beat me by 4. I'm like, how'd that happen? He got a tight end in the 2nd. That's not supposed to happen.
Hey, man, he drafted well.
That's what you do, I guess, right?
I don't know.
A couple of names on here. Michael Thomas didn't go until the 8th round because who knows when he is going to actually get to play.
Yep.
Travis Etienne was taken in the 15th.
Not surprising, being in a keeper league. I was going to draft him too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I drafted
J.K. Dobbins in the 15th.
Yeah, I would have drafted him as well.
So what else we got to talk about here, man?
I mean, we could just talk about general football stuff and strategy and stuff.
General
It is a weird week, and but I think from a draft perspective, right? If you have drafts this week, and we have a few questions we'll answer too, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have drafts coming up this week, that's a good thing because you've dodged all the injuries. You know that now.
And this is one of the reasons why we like scheduling drafts later because it's after cutdown day.
Right.
It's after, after people swap, back end players, et cetera.
Yep.
And all the preseason games are done, so presumably all the injuries are over with.
Right. So, you dodge those bullets. That's great. Congratulations on your league for doing the right thing and drafting a little bit later. Again, when it comes to strategy, it really is league dependent. But I'm going to tell you right now, we've been saying it for years. Nothing has changed. The running back is king. The running back is king in fantasy football. If you have a 2-quarterback league, it might surprise you, right? That I would say that they're now even. But quarterbacks don't take over.
Well, I ran the
numbers. That's how good running backs are in fantasy football.
And scarce.
Yes.
I ran the numbers for another league I'm in, which is 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. And a bunch of flexes and all that, and they were basically neck and neck.
They're even. So even at that point, it's not a mistake to take running backs early. It's never a mistake. It can be a mistake to take wide receivers. It's definitely a mistake to take a tight end. It's unless you're in a 2-quarterback league, it's 100% a mistake to draft a quarterback.
Now in this league, you can play 3 tight ends,
right?
But who would want to? Actually, you have to play 2.
Well, if you drafted 3 really good tight ends,
right,
then it might be amazing.
Right, but to be able to draft those 3 amazing tight ends, you have to set aside running backs and
True,
wide
but
receivers
if you got Kelsey, Kittle, and I don't know,
Waller,
sure,
those are picks 1, 2, and 3.
Right. If you got all 3 of those guys in that 3 tight end system, it might work out.
Maybe
it might, but you'd have to. Quarterbacks are a little bit easier because there's more of them.
There are more good ones,
right? And you have a starter on every team that touches the football every down.
Sure,
that is not the case for any other position in the NFL. So
except for center, but they don't count.
They don't count. So that's why there's so many quarterbacks. There are so few viable starting running backs in the NFL. You just got to nail them. You got to nail them. And if you whiff on those picks, and that's why we draft so many of them. We're not doing it because Robbie didn't draft 4 running backs. He can't even start 4 of them. He did it because he knows that one of them, or maybe 2, aren't going to work out. You know what I mean?
Or there will be injuries, or
there's always, like Mostert, for example.
He'll be in a committee.
Probably won't play 100% of the games. When he's on the field, he's awesome. But is he going to be on the field? So, yeah, you got to cover that position. More important than any other position. Wide receivers, the really good ones are hard to find. But the flex-worthy, the wide receiver 2s are a dime a dozen.
And there's fresh ones every week.
You'll find them on the wire constantly. That is not the case for running backs.
Last year, Travis Fulgham was a top 5 wide receiver, and maybe the top wide receiver in fantasy football for 4 weeks.
Right.
Right now, he's on a practice squad.
Yep.
And he may get up into the team and have another great run.
Yep.
It's possible. And there's a bunch of guys out there that can do that. Gandy Golden for the football team could do that.
Yep.
He showed flashes of competence and some brilliance last year.
Sure. So the point is, you really don't have to nail any position in your draft except running
back.
And it's just a fact at this point. Unless you play in some wonky league, and there are some out there, and that's why I encourage everybody to check their own league scoring out, and you should definitely know that. But for the most part, like 99.5% of leagues, it's going to be running back first, early, and often.
There's a post in the fantasy football subreddit today. a quarterback, is it still the thing to wait for a quarterback? And the answer is yeah.
It really doesn't make sense to draft one early. It really doesn't. I know that Mahomes scores a lot of points. I know. I'd love to have him on my team. But if you average out the amount of points per position in the first 5 rounds, right? Your 2 running backs, your 2 wide receivers, and a flex, right? If you average those out, if you draft a quarterback early, you will net fewer points.
Sounds weird. Well, I was doing because of that post. I was in the middle of answering it back when somebody rang my doorbell. Anyway, I think that was you.
It might have been.
Yeah, it was absolutely you. So the thing, I looked at the top score, and I'm going to try to remember these numbers. Top quarterback was Josh Allen, I think 422 points.
Right.
The 12th quarterback was Matt Ryan, with fewer enough points that the average difference between Allen and Ryan was 7.75
Per game. Right.
The first running back was Derrick Henry. I think the 12th was Melvin Gordon. The difference between 1 and 12 was like 10.75 points.
Right.
So by choosing the quarterback instead of that running back,
you're losing 3
You're
points
losing 3 or 4 points a game.
Now, it compounds, right? Because you have to draft a running back later. You have to fill that spot. So how many fewer points is that guy going to get? Right? Yeah, it's only 3 points for Mahomes, but you have to fill that running back spot. So it's a compounding issue, right? And this is kind of if you're not familiar with the term Moneyball, it's kind of, forgetting about the specific players and looking at just the numbers, right? And trying to average out, because you have to fill a full fantasy team. So if you look at your entire roster, that's what makes up all your points. You need to fill all of those slots. So if you draft Mahomes in the 2nd round or something, 3rd round,
that cascades all the way back.
It hurts your entire draft. It really does.
I can't imagine there's a sports fan or somebody who follows fantasy football that hasn't seen the Moneyball movie or read the book.
Right.
But basically the upshot of that was, we don't care about guys who hit home runs, but they have a 128, 198 batting average. We want guys that can get on base.
On base percentage.
If you can get on base, we can manufacture runs. We can move runners over, and we can score runs.
We can steal bases.
Right.
We can bunt. Right. We can do sack
flies. You can move runners around the bases. It's small ball is what it is.
Sure.
But in the case of the A's, who didn't have a lot of money to spend on big name and big money players,
it worked.
That's how they had to play, and that's how they had to manage. So the key here is, where can I find the most amount of points? And what we're talking about here, the 4 points between the 1st and the 12th quarterback versus the 1st and the 12th running back is only 3.5, 4 points. But how many times have you lost a game by 2 points?
Right.
1 point, 3 points.
You want to maximize that potential on your roster.
Right. And then you talk about the 2nd running back that you are having to draft around later because you took that quarterback. How many points are you losing there?
Yep.
And, it ruins the whole season by reaching for a tight end or a quarterback too early.
Yes, it does. It does.
And we've been saying this for 17 years.
Yeah, too long. And nobody listens still.
Well, some people do.
Yeah, I know. All right, to the questions, man. We got one in Twitch here. 2K Tyler Backup says, do I trade Eckler, Zeke, and Kittle for McCaffrey and James Robinson?
Wait a minute. Where is this?
It's in Twitch.
Oh, it's in Twitch. Okay.
Yeah. Eckler, Zeke, and Kittle for McCaffrey and James Robinson.
McCaffrey?
Mm-hmm. I like saying it like that. We mispronounce names and words often.
On purpose.
Yes.
So what's it again? They're trading who?
Eckler, Zeke, and Kittle for McCaffrey and James Robinson.
Yes. Are they getting James Robinson?
Yes.
And McCaffrey?
Yeah.
100%.
I think I'd pull the trigger on this trade.
See, the conversation we were just having
Yeah.
applies here too in trades.
Eckler has a lot of question marks, although when he's on the field, he's fantastic.
Is it a PPR?
Doesn't say.
Okay. Well, his value really is in PPR leagues.
For sure. But he's really good when he's on the field. He's had trouble doing that of late.
Getting on and staying on. Yeah.
Yeah. Zeke has some question marks around him. I mean, Kittle's going to be fantastic, but he's a tight end. So.
If you get McCaffrey and who is the second one?
James Robinson.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, that's 2 solid running backs.
No, if Etienne was there, I might have a little question mark about Robinson, but
He's not.
We know what he's going to be, and I think ETN would have just been the gadget guy anyway. He may have taken a few carries, but I think he would have been the guy split out. He'd have been the jet sweep guy. He'd have been that guy.
Yeah.
So I think Robinson would still have been the quote-unquote feature back for the Jags, but I don't know how much you're going to be running in the second half. It's the only question about that, dude.
Yeah, it sure does.
But to get McCaffrey,
Yeah.
Sure. You're trading Zeke, who is a top 5 guy. In the draft anyway, whether he ends up that way.
He's got question
just
marks, for sure.
Yeah. There's only one football, and there's a lot of people who want hands on it on that team.
For sure. All right. Ruba says, hey, guys, question for my 10-team half peeper keeper. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Keep 4. Chubb for the 6th, Reek for the 7th, Antonio Brown for a 16th, Keenan Allen for a 9th, Miles Sanders for a 4th, Tynan for a 16th. Thank you. Chubb and Reek were definitely keeping.
Absolutely. That's what, a 6 and a 7th?
6 and a 7.
Mad value.
Yeah. Keenan Allen for a 9th, I'm probably keeping.
Yeah,
too.
I like that.
So the
Sanders for a
question-
6, he said?
4th.
4th.
Miles Sanders for a 4th, Antonio Brown for a 16th, or Tanyan for a 16th.
I think you can get Miles Sanders in the 4th anyway, so I don't really think that's crazy value.
But would you keep Antonio Brown
for a 16th?
Yeah, but I don't.
Dude, I think so. I think I would keep Antonio Brown for a 16th. When I'm looking for,
I probably would not.
Well, I would probably keep Sanders, but I like Antonio.
Would you
Brown.
draft Sanders in the 4th?
Yes.
I'd probably just keep him and chalk it up to a scratch.
Yeah, I mean, I got him in the 3rd.
Right.
You
I'd
know.
probably just keep it.
But try to draft Antonio Brown. We know that Brady loves him. He's never going to catch a double. I think he's going to outplay last year, and I think he's going to outplay his draft position in a big way.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Sean says, "Hey fellas, seeking some mediocre draft advice." Well, you've come to the right place.
Good grammar.
Thank you. Half peeper, I have the 4th pick, which I really view as the 5th because Derrick Henry was kept.
Yeah.
I kept Antonio Gibson at the cost of a 5th rounder. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Assuming CMC, Cook, and Kamara go 1, 2, and 3, do I grab Zeke, Chubb, or Aaron Jones? Or others? Thanks. I would not grab Zeke there. I would grab Chubb or Aaron Jones. I think either are fine.
Yeah, whichever one you get. I mean, I think their value is about the same.
And by the way, if any one of those other running backs doesn't go 1, 2, or 3,
then it's them.
Draft that one. But if Henry's kept, so if CMC, Cook, or Kamara happen to fall to you, draft one of those. If not, Chubb or Aaron Jones are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like both of them probably equally.
And that's why when I had my choice, and it was Jones or Chubb, and Robbie's like, I can't believe you didn't take Chubb. I'm like, if I had taken Chubb, I'd have been like, man, I probably should have gotten Jones.
They're both solid. Dude.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Ali Eagle says, "Hey guys, have you guys played in any Superflex leagues or had any advice or lessons learned? It's my first year trying this, and the Magic formula basically makes RBs and QBs almost the same. Go Birds!" Yeah, we were just talking about this, and I did not. There's a little bit of foreshadowing earlier in the show, but I did not know that.
Yeah.
But here's what I'll tell you. Typically in those leagues, quarterbacks go really, really fast. So I would draft at least one early. But I wouldn't be sold on drafting 2 of them early necessarily. Like if there's a heavy QB run, just load up on running backs, man.
Yeah.
If it's the other way around, if there's a heavy RB run, maybe draft 2 quarterbacks early. But I think I would draft a good quarterback early, a solid, try to get a top 5 guy. And then, I would draft a solid backup later or a second starter. I would shoot for somebody with really high upside, like a Jameis Winston, for example. And then I would draft, at the end of your draft, a couple guys that might do something. Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, the rookies, right? Ryan Fitzpatrick would definitely be on that list.
Yeah.
For sure. Kirk Cousins isn't super sexy, and people don't seem to draft him a whole lot. I'd totally take him.
You mentioned Cousins.
Yeah.
This league I'm in, it's a work league with a bunch of guys around the country, actually. You have to play 2 quarterbacks. It's not a matter of you can play 2. It's,
right.
You roster 2 every week. I decided I was going to go running back and wide receiver heavy here because you can play 4 of them.
Right.
So I ended up with Teddy Bridgewater, Kirk Cousins, and Baker Mayfield.
Super solid. Yep.
Yeah, and none of those guys are going to be top 5.
Right.
But they're going to be relatively steady. They have good guys to throw to, which is key. Now there's some questionable offensive lines here, but certainly not Cleveland's.
But in that Superflex league, you don't have to start 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So you can basically ignore it if you want to. Now, typically, if you can start 2 quarterbacks, it's usually better to do that.
Unless you have, somebody who just kind of sucks.
Yeah, and you're going to
You're not going to want to have Nathan Peterman on your team.
Roll the dice on somebody like Wentz, right, late in your draft. In case, he returns to form or something. So I would definitely throw some darts at quarterback there and maybe draft 1 fairly early in the first 5 rounds, but I wouldn't go crazy with it.
Agreed.
One more, Kevin. Ren and Ammo says, podcast question. Ren and Ammo streams on Twitch. He streams Tarkov. How would you rank these late round / sleeper tight ends? Jonnu Smith, Zach Ertz, Jared Cook, and Jack Doyle. How would I rank them? Probably, okay, if I was forced to, I'd probably say Cook, Smith, Ertz, Doyle. But, I think they all have similar question marks. Ertz could end up being really, really good. He could return to form, right?
He could. I mean, you saw the preseason. He had a lot of targets.
He did.
For the time that he was in there.
Right.
And the thing about it is, and I think we may have talked about this, but between Ertz and Goddard, Ertz is an awful blocker, whereas Goddard's pretty good.
Right.
So if they're going to run a 2 tight end set, it's not going to be Ertz into the block and Goddard going out. It's going to be Ertz in the slot.
Right.
So I think he's probably going to maybe not be what he was 4 years ago, but I think he's going to be up there with Cook in these 5 as being playable, startable.
Yeah.
I don't know about Jonnu because as long as Hunter Henry's there, who knows what he's going to do? Who knows how that's going to shake out?
Don't know.
We have seen the Patriots have Gronk and Hernandez kick ass as the 2 tight end set. Both of those guys are startable in fantasy. We may see the same thing out of Hunter Henry and Jonnu.
I mean, they're both really good, so they're going to use them. If I had to pick one on this list, I would probably pick Jared Cook, but
he's like 1,000 years old.
But he still catches passes. I don't care.
Catches
passes.
And Jack Doyle's kind of not being talked about here. He's a guy who's caught touchdowns and passes in the NFL. Whether he's going to continue doing that,
these are all super questionable players here. If you already have a tight end and you're looking to just throw a dart for upside, definitely Ertz.
Yeah.
Because he was an all-pro caliber tight end. And Jared Cook was too.
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying. Ertz probably has the most potential. But again, I don't really have much faith in that Eagles offense right now.
I have faith. It's not positive faith.
Right. There you go.
But I have faith.
He has faith. My man has faith. By the way, if I picked you for my league, please send me an email. I got 4 so far, and one person backed out.
Oh, so you need a fill?
I might need all the alternates. I don't know yet.
All right.
We'll find out.
I only needed 1, I think.
Yeah, and we gotta set this draft up and stuff. So get her done.
Yeah. Beerman put his picture in the Discord.
I saw that.
He's sitting there in the end zone
at the Niners game.
The Niners game. He's like,
yeah, very cool.
He's in the money league again this year.
Yes.
So it's going to be fun. All right, guys. I think that's it. Guys, of course, being gender non-specific.
That's right. Peace out. We'll be back for opening day week.
Right. We'll actually be talking about games, real life games.
Yeah, and not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday.
We'll do a question show.
That's a downstate Delaware thing right there.
Saturday.
You take out the Y, the T, you put the Y in.
Yeah,
it's Saturday.
Saturday.
Or Saturday. Saturday,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's amazing how we escaped. Well, I don't know that we did.
I don't know. When I go to visit my cousin in South Carolina, she always says you have the funniest accent. And I'm like, no, you have a weird accent. You have that southern drawl.
All kind of right through the nose.
Yeah, just kind of talk like this. Hey, Bo. What y'all doing over there, Bo?
Bo?
Oh.
All right, then.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Next football game we see will be real live football Thursday night.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a week from now.
It is. It's a week and a day.
A week and a day.
So it's going to be the Bucs and the Cowboys.
Yeah. Ought to be a good one. I'm excited.
I'll be very happy if the Cowboys start out the season 0-1.
I will be too.
So my problem is I hate to play Thursday night players in a fantasy league.
Same.
So my quarterback in 2 of the leagues I'm in is going to be playing Thursday night against the Bucs D.
Gotta play him.
Don't get cute.
Gotta play him.
You grit your teeth and you put the players you drafted to play
Yep.
into play.
Just put them down there. Don't worry about it.
Cuteness will not win you league.
Yep. After about week 2, week 3, we can start talking about getting weird. But right now, just start the people you drafted.
Getting weird. All right, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend if you're in the United States.
I'm going to go sit in a tree and get really wet.
Porn?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, see ya. Bye.
I love you, and I mean it.